Buenas tardes, Costa Rica. Me tocó después del almuerzo, ¿qué le vamos a hacer? Bueno, yo soy orgullosamente tica y quiero dedicarle mi presentación a todas estas muchachas que están acá. Un aplauso de nuevo. Espero poder inspirarlas y motivarlas a seguir en sus carreras en tecnología o comenzar sus carreras en tecnología. Mi charla verdaderamente es en inglés, así que espero que esté bien. Simplemente quería saludarlos en español, decirles que estoy orgullosísima de estar en esta tarima y orgullosa de poder compartirles el trabajo que yo hago en tecnología. Okay? So now, we're actually going to switch over to English. My talk is going to be in English, and I hope that's okay. I want to welcome everyone here to the future. So yay, the future. Can we clap for the future? Un aplauso para el futuro. All right. I'm going to take you guys right now on a journey, okay? So we're going to go on a journey, so buckle up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go into the future. I want to start with a question. Are we living in the future? Okay? Show of hands. How many people here watched the movie called Blade Runner? Okay, good number of people. Okay, for those of you guys that have not watched Blade Runner, it's a sci-fi movie based on a dystopian future, and that was supposed to be based in November 2019. Right? So every time you watch Blade Runner now, you're watching a movie based in the past. Kind of changes your perspective, right? Yesterday, one of the speakers, Tiffany, walked us through this experience, this practice of closing our eyes and thinking about what the future looks like. And I think that a lot of us, at one point, thought about the future and possibly had a very positive attitude towards the future. Many of you, when you were children, you thought about the future. You saw the Jetsons or you saw some cartoon about the future, and you had this positive utopian view of the future. Okay? And I want to bring that back to you today. So, I want to start by introducing you to my handsome little son over here. He is 8 years old. His name is Colin. He loves soccer, Minecraft, and Pokemon in no particular order. And he has some really interesting views about the future. So, let's hear what a child has to say about the future.
I think the future will be like humans like us, having amazing technology, hoverboards, flying cars, flying trains, and flying transportation. And boots that can make you hover, and gloves that can see through walls.
Whoa, cool. And why do you think that it's going to be that cool?
What?
Why do you think it's going to be that cool, the future?
Because we're going to have awesome technology that we can use for amazing things.
Are you excited about the future?
Yeah, it might be like that. I hope I'm right.
And you're telling me? So I think he's asking for a lot. Gloves that can see through walls. I'm sure someone out there in the world might be working on that right now. So if not, there you go. Startup idea, people. So what I want to do with this is frame the conversation along how exciting the future can be and how positive we can be. And sometimes those visions of the future, sometimes we get those right, okay? This is a picture from the 1960s of the future of travel, the future of the train station. What will it look like? So you have a family here with this giant touch screen of sorts, kind of looking for information. So you think about when you go to the airport nowadays to check in for a flight, if you do self-check-in, you're in front of a screen and you're typing. So this one was not far off. We don't get them right all the time, okay? It's 2020, where are my flying cars, right? We've been waiting for flying cars forever, right? Even my son wants flying transportation. So sometimes we don't get them quite right. Sometimes the technology is just not there yet. So, for example, if you went to CES this year, you probably might have heard that companies like Uber or Bell Helicopters, now called Bell, are actually working on autonomous helicopters that are going to be used like taxis. So I think, helicopters in this country would be a great idea. So flying cars, coming soon. My question to you is, who does the future belong to? right? You've heard speakers here talk about different companies and how they missed those blind spots, how they didn't envision the future. Whether it was Nokia, how many people here have a Nokia phone? Oh, well, quite a good number, though. I was surprised. But Nokia used to be the king of the world when it came to mobile phones. Nothing could stop it. And then came the iPhone. Kodak. We always talk about Kodak, the Kodak moment, right? Kodak had the future literally in their hands. They had someone create a digital camera at Kodak. But the people at Kodak did not see what Oren mentioned as blind spots. They said, there's no way people will never, ever use digital cameras. They will always use film. Where's Kodak now, right? So who does the future belong to? The future belongs to those who see the possibilities before they become obvious. It's one of my favorite quotes. It's actually by John Sculley, who was a CEO of Apple. And I think it's kind of poetic that even though he was a visionary in some ways, he missed the marks. He missed those blind spots, right? When you think of Apple CEOs, you normally think Tim Cook, Steve Jobs. Many of you probably don't think John Sculley. It's like, who's that? So I think that also, it's important to look at what other leaders have said about the future. I like this quote from Malcolm X that says, the future belongs to those that prepare for it today. And that's all of you here. Everyone that is at this event is preparing for that future. So pat yourselves on the back for being here and wanting to learn about the future, okay? And of course, being that I do want to empower more women, I also found a great quote by a strong woman, Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the first lady of the United States. And she said this. She said, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. At the end of the day, all of us here that are working in technology, working in business, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're doing it with passion, it's because you're believing in your dreams. And especially these young ladies in front, I want you to believe in your dreams because you own the future. The future belongs to all of us, okay? And this is the face of a child looking at the future. This is one of the highlights from 2018. I had a chance in Atlanta to do some demos for young women, like the ones we have here, that were interested in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, STEAM. And what this girl is looking at right now is an image of a whale swimming through the skyline of Atlanta. That is very, very powerful. When was the last time you thought about your future and had this reaction, right? I kind of want to frame that. I want you to get excited about what's coming. Because what's coming is an era of exponential growth, okay? The journey I'm going to take you on is about the spatial era. And I will be talking a lot more about what this actually means later down in my presentation. But what I want to kind of frame it with is that Wired, the magazine Wired, actually did a cover story on what they called the mirror world. Okay? And what they said is that this mirror world is going to spark the next computing platform. The future Mark Zuckerbergs, the future Steve Jobs, the future Sheryl Sandbergs are being created right now because of these exponential technologies that are emerging. And this is a very powerful opportunity for everyone here in Costa Rica and everyone all around the world. Right? So on this journey to the spatial era, I want to talk a little bit about the work I do in technology. I'm very, very lucky to work for a company called Magic Leap. And our mission at Magic Leap is to harmonize people and technology to create a better, more unified world. We actually, create hardware, which I will be talking about in a little bit, but what we're trying to do is empower people with technology. And I think that that is very powerful, and I'm extremely lucky to work for this company. We believe that reality is just beginning. A new type of reality where our physical lives and our digital lives are merging. It's a new type of reality that's coming. Our CEO noticed that there was a convergence of technologies, all right? We're going to be moving away from the rectangles in our hands, on our desks, in our walls, to one device. We're going to break free of what people call the tyranny of the screen. So instead of looking down, like many of you guys are looking down at your phones, I see you. We're going to move away from having to look down to actually be looking up. And we're going to see the future in a completely different way, right? He saw this convergence of everything coming together into one device. No longer a phone, a computer, a TV, no, everything in one place that merges, once again, that digital life with our physical life. And you've probably heard all kinds of terms for virtual reality, augmented reality. I bring you a new term, which is spatial computing. That's what we call it. And I want to explain why. So virtual reality, there's tons of virtual reality out there. If you've never tried it, definitely go and try it. With virtual reality, you put on a headset, and you're transported into a virtual world. It blocks out the real world. You no longer see your friends or your dad or your annoying cousin or whoever it is. And you're transported into a digital world that could be a 360 video, or it could be a digital representation of the world, right? With augmented reality, most of the time you're doing augmented reality through your phone. So if you're using Instagram, Snapchat, and you're using that cool filter to look amazing, I know you guys all do it, okay? That's augmented reality. You're augmenting your reality by adding a digital layer to your reality. But that digital layer is a little bit static. It doesn't really understand your reality. With spatial computing, what happens is that the digital content that I put in front of you, that you put in front of your reality, understands the world and is spatially aware. What I mean by this is if I had a digital ball in my hand and I threw it against that wall, it would bounce back because it would be physically aware. And that's extremely powerful. Spatial computing is a new form of computing that combines computer vision and artificial intelligence to seamlessly blend digital content into your reality. So just think about the implications and how powerful that technology can be. So, currently we have a product called the Magic Leap 1, which we have here, that looks like a really cool pair of glasses. This is how you'll see the future. And, I think it's really interesting because the device, the lightwear that you wear right here, let's say the part that looks like the glasses, is where all the optics happens and all the magic happens. And then you've got a little computer. This is pretty much a computer that you have here called the light pack, and it's where all the heavy computing happens. And then you've got the controller. There's also hand tracking. But what I think is really beautiful about this technology is that you have kind of a right brain, left brain kind of thing. And this technology, spatial computing and the hardware and kind of the work we are doing at Magic Leap is already changing a lot of different verticals, and it's going to impact absolutely every industry. I'm going to walk you guys through some of the ways that we're already working with companies like JetBlue or McLaren, and they're using our technology to change the way they do business. I think it's really important here to take a pause and explain a little bit more about what's happening. Web 1.0, okay, the first part of the internet, connected information. You had all the information at the fingertips. You could Google information, right? Web 2.0 connected people. So Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Snapchat, now you're all connected, right? You don't see family, but you see them on Facebook, all right? And then Web 3.0, which is what's coming and what spatial computing has to do about, actually connects people, places, and things. The idea of place is amplified, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Magic Leap 1 is your window into infinite realities. Think back to that picture of that young woman just excited looking at this whale in Atlanta. The world is opening up The possibilities of who she can be, what she can create, are endless. And that is powerful technology. That is exponential technology and exponential opportunity. So I'm going to show you some examples of how we're already using this technology. And we're going to start with the fun part. Okay? Entertainment. Everyone loves to be entertained. So I'm going to show you a video. But before I do, I will say, are there any Game of Thrones fans here? Woo, Game of Thrones. So sad it's over. Yeah. So if you're watching Game of Thrones, please pay attention. This will definitely be very exciting and relevant for you.
There is only one war that matters. The Great War. And it is
here. You actually get to fight a white warrior in your living room. How powerful is that? I swear I have such a cool job. I love my job. This is a project with HBO and AT&T, where we partnered with them for the last season of Game of Thrones. And you could go to certain AT&T stores or to the Tribeca Film Festival, put the headset on, and have this experience fighting a White Walker. And this, my friends, is what I call the transition from what I call storytelling, where you're just telling me a story and I'm a passive recipient of information, to story living, where you're part of the story. And that, my friends, is exciting. Okay? I'm going to show you another video of another project that we worked on. If you like comics and if you like graphic novels, I think this will speak to you. And I will definitely comment a little bit about it afterwards.
I spent a lot of time drawing when I was young. I've always just loved to draw, but particularly to tell stories in pictures. This is the first comic, the first superhero comic I ever had, and it just made me really want to be a comic artist. And I've been lucky enough to work on all my favourite characters. I've done Superman, I've done Batman. But I suppose when they come to write my obituary in the distant future, the word Watchman is going to be in the first paragraph. The trick of drawing is you see things in 3D, but you express them in 2D. That's the thing that goes on in your head. And that's exactly what Magic Leap and Madefire are the extension of. You can arrange the artwork in layers which give you depth, parallax, camera movement, mood music, sound effects. And once you've got that built in Madefire, you can then translate it across into Magic Leap and turn something flat into something which exists in space before you. Magic Leap to me is it's like an out-of-body experience, almost like you had entered your dreams, you'd crossed the threshold. Not only are you seeing characters that you created, but you're actually seeing them in spaces that you're familiar with. It's clear to me it's going to transform many, many aspects of life. You're really only limited by your imagination. As a storyteller and an artist, the future looks great.
You are only limited by your imagination. There's a part in that video where he laughs, where he has a moment where he's almost a child, and he can see that excitement of, wow, I'm going to tell stories in a totally different way. And telling stories makes us human. So this is just powerful technology that's going to allow us to communicate and share our thoughts and our memories in a totally different way. Now we're going to get into a not so sexy kind of part. We're going to talk about your health, right? What if spatial computing could help you become a more informed patient? Magic Leap is already working with a company called Brain Lab that creates 3D scans of the brain, and the doctor and the patient are able to put on a headset and look at that scan of the brain. And the doctor can show that person in real time what's happening inside their brain. So that can make you have become more informed as a patient and make better decisions. I'm not going to say it's going to take all your worries away, but it might provide you a little bit more information. And that's very powerful. If you think about also the training of our doctors, if a doctor is able to work on a virtual cadaver 100 times before they actually go to surgery, how many lives can that save? Okay. So in health, we're also seeing this big opportunity with spatial computing. Now we're going to talk about training and education, and I put them together as training and education. I didn't just do education as K through 12 and university. I put them together because there's people of all different levels here. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we're going to have in the future is retraining and reskilling workers. So with spatial computing, you can visualize ways in a totally different way. Let's say you're an architecture or design student at a university here in Costa Rica or wherever, and you're actually able to see what a room you're designing inside a building looks like. Where's the plumbing? Where does this go? How can we make it different? Right? It changes the paradigm of how you learn. A lot of people learn by doing. Esther yesterday was talking about that. Learn by making, learn by doing. This technology allows us to get hands-on and visualize the things that we're learning. It's better to train people in this way than give them a big old book that they're never going to read. This is another example of how we can train a worker in retail. He's being walked through an experience where he's taught how to do a certain task. It's going to make him more productive. And this could be someone doing the training live with him, or it could be something that's pre-recorded so that an employee can put the headset on and do this practice before he even starts working with clients. So in training and education, you're already starting to see a massive impact. Now we're going to talk about work, your work. What are some of the ways that spatial computing is being used at work? This is really important to me because what you're seeing here is a person working on the design of a car, right? And I personally believe that if you're designing a car to function in the real world, why not design it in reality? Right now, when people are designing a car, they're doing a 3D model on a flat screen, right? If it needs to function in the real world, wouldn't it be great if I could work on it in the real world? And I'll give you an example here. McLaren, the company that makes really awesome cars. Okay, so McLaren usually uses clay models to work on their cars. They're starting to move away from clay models and looking at spatial computing using Magic Leap to be able to put these models in front of them virtually. That's powerful. They can have multiple people looking at the same car at the same time making changes. Imagine the reduction in time and the impact to the environment too from a clay perspective. This is a picture of a company called Hyperloop TT. Hyperloop is in some ways the future of transportation. So when they were looking for a way to actually show people what they do, what their passenger systems and their pods and their super fast transportation does, they looked at Magic Leap and they looked at spatial computing because they wanted people to visualize it. So last year in December, they did a big event in Cleveland where they're going to have one of their first passenger systems. And they were able to show the community and the policymakers there what Hyperloop would look like, what the pods would look like. And it was extremely powerful and beneficial to them because it allowed people to actually see it and not just have an idea of maybe thinking of what it would look like. They were actually able to see kind of the visualization of what Hyperloop could look like. So, next, I'm going to show you a video of some of the companies that we're working with that are doing amazing things in entertainment, medical, education, you name it. talk to you guys about two examples that are in that video. One of them, you might have seen kind of data. It was like a graph, and you had data. One of the companies that we're working with actually grabbed the data from coronavirus and put it into spatial computing. And when you're able to visualize the data outside of a flat screen, completely changes the paradigm. All right? It was extremely interesting to kind of see this data in reality and walk around the data and kind of experience it. So from a financial, imagine from a data-driven perspective, from a financial perspective, the things that you're going to be able to do when you bring that data into reality, right? And then the other example I want to talk about is the shopping one, Obsess. We all love to shop, ladies. Come on. What if you could shop with a holographic scan of yourself and try on different dresses, right? That's awesome. You don't have to change. So yeah, super fun example of some of the ways that we're changing retail and that we're changing data. Now, I want to talk to you guys about our future at Magic Leap and our journey into what's coming. We have 4 North Stars. These North Stars really dictate the things that we do and the things that we do as a company. And they are sensory fields, live stream, human-centered artificial intelligence, and the Magicverse. For this talk, I'm only going to focus on the last 2, right? So we're going to go into talking about human-centered artificial intelligence. I'm going to show you a video first, because I want to see everyone's reaction, and then I'll tell you exactly what it is that you saw. Let me introduce you to Micah. Micah is our virtual human. I'm going to tell you something that happened when you were all looking at that video. Maybe not all of you, but a lot of the women I saw in the front. When she smiled, you guys smiled. I've had the chance to experience Micah, and when I've sat with her, I've smiled when she smiled. People have seen people yawn after she yawns. It's an interaction, a contextually natural interaction with artificial intelligence. That's very different than the way we envision artificial intelligence. And I know Suzanne's going to talk about the work she does, which is truly fantastic. We're more focused on the virtual side of things. So I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I do want to talk a little bit more about how we see human-centered artificial intelligence. So with human intelligence, you have the physical brain and the cognitive mind, right? And what we're trying to do with Micah is not just mimic the brain. We want to mimic the mind. We want to find a way to humanize artificial intelligence so that it's more relatable, so that we feel more comfortable with the idea of artificial intelligence. And the really interesting thing with Micah is that when you interact with her, she doesn't talk to you yet. She just shares with you in a nonverbal way, which is very powerful, and you do this collage with her. And what's really struck me is that when people go into having the experience and they put the headset on and they're like, what am I going to be looking at? They might have this preconceived notion, right? Or this like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And they put on the headset and they experience Micah. And I would say 98% of the people that come out of that experience come out in a really zen and positive way. I've seen people cry, which is kind of interesting. But this is kind of a little bit of where we're going as a company. We're not just hardware, we're a platform for business. And I think the other big thing I want to talk to you guys about is the Magicverse and the work we are doing in this field. Okay, so we talked about that wired cover of the mirror world, right? So I'm going to explain what we call the Magicverse. What is it? The Magicverse is an emergent system of systems that combines the digital and physical lives. All right? So you have a physical life, who you are in your physical world, and you have a digital life in your digital world. And with spatial computing, this convergence is happening. And what's being created is this new magic verse of endless possibilities. So I'm going to kind of walk you guys a little bit through what that would look like. Right? So here, you have 3 professionals, engineers, an architect, looking at a building that's being built here in San Jose. And they're all looking at it, they're talking about it, they're looking at the physical space, right? This is what you would see with your eyes. But there's a digital layer that we are creating absolutely every day with our data. There's this data, it's a dynamic layer. It's a living dynamic layer with information. What happens with this layer and with spatial computing and the magic verse and the mirror world and what's coming is that you're able to combine both. So in this case, you've got the 3 professionals looking at the building, and their boss decides to join from Guanacaste. She puts the headset on, and she calls in through her hologram or her avatar, and you guys are looking at the same building. You're looking at the physical building, and you're starting to talk about, oh, how's everything going with the building and the progress. All of a sudden, you're like, let's show the boss how the building's gonna look when it is completely done. And through this digital layer, you're able to pull a real life-size model of what the building would look like. Right? You're able to visualize what this will look like in the real world. And then, let's say she wants to look at some parts related to security in the building. She's able to pull up specific information about different parts of the building. You're able to make changes in real time and annotate them. You're able to pull up a layer. Let's say that the person wants to look at the transportation layer that shows all the transportation flows. And to look at, if this building is going to add more traffic to a city like San Jose, very possibly. Or if it's going to, even if there's an emergency, how can you change the traffic flows? So it's adding that digital layer to your reality. And the big point I want to make here, and one of the most important things you have to walk away with from my talk, is that the physical world has a finite economy. Right? There's only so much we can do. And there's plenty to do and plenty to be done left, but it's a finite economy. With the magic verse, with these digital layers, it's an amplified economy of possibilities. Right? You're going to be able to go into a city and see digital landmarks, digital art in front of you. You're going to be able to leave reviews of that restaurant you really liked or the one you did not like, and people are going to be able to see them on this digital layer. So it's going to bring that physical life and that digital life together. Once again, the spatial era is here, and it will have exponential growth. And this is the opportunity. This is the opportunity for every company. It's an opportunity for every entrepreneur. It's an opportunity for everyone here. So I think it's been great that I've talked to you guys about the future and how I envision it. I want to share a video from our friends at Adobe that shared this at Adobe Max. It's a concept video, but I want you to kind of look at how would the future look like? And I think that this video really shows the possibilities.
Play music.
Okay. There's been an update to your calendar.
Show calendar.
There's an accident ahead. Should I show you an alternate route?
Yes.
You would use that in Costa Rica a lot.
Show bio. Save to libraries.
Oh, hey, Jordan.
Hey, Rory.
Yeah.
We've all been there, and you know it.
I saw this on my ride in. Might be cool. Climb, half down.
It seems that you're making lasagna. Should I turn on the oven?
Yes, preheat oven to 400.
Now, if she could cook, that would be awesome.
Open preferences.
So at the end of the day, you're able to turn it off, and you'll be seeing the future with glasses. Will I see you in the magic verse? I want to see you in that magic verse. I want you to create that magic verse with us.
We've been on a long journey. In fact, if this story were like most, we'd be reaching the part where we turn back home. But for us, there is no return, only what lies ahead. And that's a brand new way of thinking.
So Magic Leap have the past 5-6 years developing a lightweight wearable computing device using meshing and reading of a room. You place digital content in that room using eye tracking and head pose. We know where you're looking to actually place all of that digital content that we only ever experience now via a screen in the world with you.
Magic Leap is more than a headset. It's a new medium, one that brings together our physical and digital worlds. It's a computer that can see what you see and has the power to learn. It's the first step towards a new way to interact with the world. Our story isn't over, and we're just getting started. See you in the Magic Verse.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Thank you for letting me take you on this journey. So, okay.